Welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles video. My name is Erin, and today I'm doing my March 2022 bullet journal. This theme was actually kind of a surprise. So I originally planned on doing a plants theme, but I realized that I had kind of done a lot of plants in my February bullet journal because I chose the lavender and green theme, and I didn't really want to risk having some pages that looked like they repeated. And I realized, looking back at some of my old bullet journals, I very rarely do themes that are all red and orange. So I decided to challenge myself this time and do kind of a fiery, fantasy inspired theme. I've been getting back into some of my um, reading genres that I was more into when I was younger, which includes a lot of fantasy. So I've definitely had fantasy kind of on the brain. I also am really excited to start a new D&D campaign with some friends, so this definitely was kind of inspired by that as well. For my title page, I started off with these dripping candles with the flames coming out of the top. I really like drawing candles, and I realized I don't do them very often except for maybe in some of my December spreads, like if I'm doing candles for a Christmas theme. So I was really happy to do a whole bunch of them um in this month of my bullet journal. So after I did the outlines of the candles, I went back in and just added a little shading with my light gray marker. And then I put in the lettering just in black and gave it an orange drop shadow to make it pop off the page a little bit. For my first week spread, I wanted to do kind of some potions, like magical potions. I don't know where I was going with that description, but little potion bottles all along the bottom. I have used potion bottles before, usually in my Halloween or October spreads. I think there was one year several years ago where I did, maybe it was, now I can't remember what year it was. At some point, I did a Harry Potter inspired bullet journal. I don't think I filmed that though. I think it was before I was putting these on YouTube. But the little potion bottles have definitely come back a couple times, but I usually do them all in shades of green or purple. So it was really interesting to do them in these like fiery reds and oranges, just as something different. For all of these spreads, I am only using Stabilo markers. You guys are going to have to tell me in the description, although I don't even know how you would type this out, but I recently was listening to something where the person called these markers Stabilos instead of Stabilos, but the person was from the UK. So I don't know if the pronunciation is different, like officially. But I've always called them Stabilos because that's what I heard them called when I asked for them at a craft store the first time I purchased them. So you'll have to let me know how you pronounce it. But I'm using the Stabilo pen 68 markers and then the Stabilo .88 fine liners for this project. And of course, as always, I messed up the first one because I started writing Monday. So I just put these little boxes underneath my numbers and then put in the days of the week. Yeah, like we can't go a whole bullet journal video without me having to like draw over something. Then for my second spread, keeping that red and orange theme, I decided I wanted a little dragon. I kept him fairly simple because I didn't really feel like spending a lot of time sketching it out. So I started with my lighter shade of red and kind of put in my outline. I didn't give him any arms or legs just because honestly I didn't feel like drawing them. Um, but I did give him wings at the end. So I filled him in with this lighter red, knowing that then I could use my darker red to kind of add details. So I gave him little horns and some spines down his back. And then I used the fine liner in that same color to add some of his little face details like his mouth, his nose, and his eyes. And then I also used that color to outline the body and add the point for the tail. Then I used the thicker dark red to add in the wing outlines, and I used that for the tops of the wings as well. And then I made the inside of the wings and the point of the tail orange. I think he turned out pretty good. It definitely would have been better if I had taken more time with it, but I don't think I've ever done a dragon in a bullet journal before, so I think he turned out pretty good considering how spontaneous this theme was, and I didn't really think about my spreads ahead of time. So when I'm turning the new page to the spread that you're seeing, that is when I came up with the idea. I did not do any sort of planning out for this one. Usually I do at least a little bit to think of like what 4 themes go under my overarching theme for the weekly spreads. For this one, I just did some flames along the bottom, kept it kind of simple for the rest of the spread because drawing these flames took a really long time. I started with my darkest red and then kept outlining the shape in lighter and lighter colors to get the flame effect, and this left me with a lot of dark red at the bottom, and I think it looked really cool at the end, especially once I added kind of my brighter, it's not quite a neon yellow, but definitely a like sunny yellow as opposed to a golden toned yellow at the end. I think it looked very cool. But I was really excited to kind of do a fantasy theme in my bullet journal, and I think I'm going to have a couple more fantasy themes coming over the summer just because I, as you know, if you've watched all my other videos, I'm really into doing Ren Fair over the summer. So I'm thinking I kind of want to do at some point like a Lord of the Rings inspired month because I've done Harry Potter before, but like a couple bullet journals ago. But I have never done Lord of the Rings. I think I've had a Narnia page. I'm pretty sure in one bullet journal I did a month that was just books inspired. So I think I had a single Narnia page, but it was with like Percy Jackson and a series of unfortunate events and other like unrelated things for the other weeks. So I'll probably do a Lord of the Rings, like Hobbit inspired month. I also want to do a mermaid or siren inspired month. I have read a lot of mermaid books in the last couple years, which I feel like mermaid books for adults are not that common, but I've started to see more of them pop up recently. So that's definitely kind of been on my mind for a while as something I wanted to do. I kept the rest of my outlines pretty simple and just did them in that brighter yellow. And part of why I kept the rest of it very simple is because since I took up so much space at the bottom, I wanted to make sure I still had enough room for everything I needed on the page. For the next one, I wanted to get a little bit of, not necessarily Harry Potter inspired, but like wizard magic in here. So I did do some wands with some little orange sparks shooting out of them. So still keeping my kind of fiery color palette, but without actually having flames on this page. And again, since I was taking up some space on the sides, I kept the rest of it pretty simple so that I wasn't losing a ton of space for what I needed to write. This format has been working out really well for me, so I'm glad I moved to the smaller bullet journal and kind of changed up my weekly spreads. Then for my last one, since it was only 4 days, I did give it its own week instead of squeezing it in with the trackers. Like I've done the last couple months, but I did kind of adjust where some of my sections are so you can see that the notes section is up at the top where Friday and Saturday would be. And then I used some of the space for the journal section to add more candles. So I ended up with about the same amount of journaling space as I have normally. It's just wider than what I usually have. But I couldn't resist adding some more of these candles because I was having so much fun drawing them. And these are exactly the same as how I did them on the cover. And then I moved on to my trackers page. I decided I wanted to do more candles and I wanted the flames to be my mood for each day. So I squeezed them all in. I'm definitely glad I started counting as I went because it definitely was a lot of candles I had to squeeze in order to get one for every day. So I started counting them out and kind of just made sure that 15 was towards the middle in order to space it. But it will definitely be a lot of candles and a lot of little flames. I also tried to make sure that the center of the candle had open space above it so that I could actually draw in the flame without it being like over the line of another candle. And this didn't work out 100% of the time, but for most of the candles it worked. Then I went back in and added the dripping wax and the wick at the top. So then each day I can light one of the candles with my color for whatever I was feeling that day. This one did kind of remind me of Harry Potter a little bit, like with all the floating candles that are in the Great Hall, but it wasn't specifically inspired by that. I added my habit tracker horizontally at the top so that I could still have 31 days across since I couldn't get 31 vertical since I used up the whole bottom section of both pages. So I just did it along the top instead. And then I split up my remaining space by putting my mood tracker, like color code, off to the side, and then split the remaining space into my goals, crafts, and books read section. I know originally I said I wasn't going to include books read in my bullet journal because I track them through an app, but I kind of missed writing them down and seeing what I read during each month, like with all of my other stuff. So I decided to add it back in. And I think the first time I added it back was February. So this is the second month doing it. I did squeeze it in my January spread. It's just on a different page instead of in with the other trackers. So here's the final flip through. I'm really glad I pushed myself to try a different color scheme for this month. I think it turned out really good and it definitely sticks out from my normal bullet journal spreads with all those fiery colors. And I'm really proud of this one. If you are interested in seeing more videos, I have a whole bullet journal playlist on my channel, as well as lots of other crafty things you can check out. You can also check the description for my usernames on other social media so you can follow me there. Thanks for watching.